Hello. So the fallout from Brewdog continues to go. Obviously, Brewdog closed the distillery. It now looks like Brewdog is going to be split up and sold off. Very worrying for any people who work for Brewdog, whether it be in the brewery sector, pub sector, or hotels. And now it's looking like all the people that invested in the equity for punks are going to be out of pocket. I mean, on the BBC News, this bloke here, Richard Fisher, invested £12,000 into the Brewdog equity for punks. I mean, what's surprising is that over 200,000 investors put money into the firm's equity for punks, which helped build Brewdog into what was at one stage a £2 billion company, with hotels and bars across the world. Their beers would be in every Wetherspoons, not so much now. The fall from grace, sometimes their marketing let them down, and sometimes some of the stuff in the news let them down, allegations. Although you've got to think, as the world of craft beer at the moment, as the bubble starting to burst, it does make you wonder. Price of beer now, price of craft beer, lots of hops, ingredients. It's pushing up and up and up, and it's getting to the stage, and I'm feeling this as well, where the pricing is just going so much. In the UK, obviously, this idiot government we've got, seem to want to take as much money out of the beer industry as they can to cripple the beer industry, and it does seem that. It says here, typically they spent £500 on shares costing £20 to £30 each. Ouch. But this bloke here, £12,000. Like I said, is resigned to losing it all. I mean, they started in 2007, James Watt and Martin Dickey in the early 20s. Quite the visionaries. I remember brewed Punk IPA coming to Sainsbury's in 2010 when I'd left gardening, went into the retail trade, working in the beers, wines and spirits. Hence why this channel was created, really, because of my years of working on beers. It says here, in return, Brewdog offered perks such as discounts on beer purchases, the tattoo thing going off, free birthday beer and invitations to the AGM with live music and beer tastings. It says here, before it closed to new investors in 2021, Equity for Punks raised £75 million. And I feel for everybody that's invested, thinking, to lose your money on shares would be ridiculous. You would hope it would get back, but what are the shares of Brewdog these days? Let's just have a look at the price of Brewdog shares. Just out of curiosity, let me just, because the BBC and all them can post about it. How much are Brewdog shares?
According to Heave, as a privately held company, Brewdog has no public stock price.
Right, so it says this, as a privately held company, Brewdog has no public stock price. And it says here also, at a private auction on the platform Asset Match in September 2022, shares were sold for £6.50 each implying a valuation of less than 520 million. Right. And I'm just looking at the Brewdog shares on the Brewdog page for the shares. I gotta be honest, it's not giving you prices. No. Yeah, it goes back to this 2022 thing. So if you paid 30 quid for shares and they're valued at £6.50, that's in 2022. You know, it's nearly 4 years on from that. Brewdog are not the company they were back then. You know, you can see the downward trend happening. I mean, for me, they need to ditch buying all that shelf space in supermarkets. It's costing them a fortune. Because you're paying for all that shelf space before you've even sold the beer. So the supermarket's laughing. Because in every supermarket, Brewdog are paying for space. You've got to sell a lot of beers before you've made any profit. I never knew this. And then, you know, I went to Sainsbury's, and like the people there said to me, says, yeah, the advertisers pay for these spaces. They pay for the plinths. So you get a plinth, and they pay so much for that plinth for a certain amount of time. If you look at Brewdog, you're paying for plinths in Morrison's, in Asda, in Tesco's, in Sainsbury's, the big four. You're paying for plinths. So your beers are in those supermarkets, or all your beers are in them supermarkets, but you're paying for the privilege. How much profit are you making by paying for all that space against the sales of the beers that you're selling? If you're not making a vast profit, then you are chucking money, you know, down the drain. And obviously not doing the share prices any good either. Were we in time for anybody with shares in Brewdog? You know, but not only that, you know, the equity for punks thing. And that, you know, that the tattoo things. I mean, I know my good friend Bullman Beer Reviews, he had the tattoo. So you got because of the equity for punks, you got so much off. You get the tattoo, you get so much off. I know this because I've seen him do it. How long before that changes? You know, these things happen, don't they? Gotta be honest, we've got a Brewdog in Nottingham. I've only been at least at the maximum 5 times in all the years I've been beer reviewing and beer drinking. I think once or twice was actually with Borman. The future is going to be interesting. You know, businesses come and go, don't they? And craft beer businesses, you know, I look at craft beer and I look at how breweries are disappearing or closing down. Some obviously through normal means, you know, giving up, thinking bugger this, and or retiring or just wanting rid. But a lot have closed down because the money, the profit in there is just disappeared. And obviously, like we all see, prices are through the roof on beers, and the quality of beers is not that great. If we look at the quality of beer, modern traditionals quality, you know, all day long, for me, is better than craft beer. And at a price which is so much better as well. interesting times. I mean, I pray that all those who invested get their money back, you know. But if the prices are about a quarter or less than a quarter of what they were, you can see the outcome, can't you? You know, let's be fair. Interesting times. Thank you for watching.